Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? This is D Ross, Dwayne Ross, and tonight we have a special event for you. I have my business partner right here, standing right next to me, but we're on two different video streams, and I'm gonna bring her in. You guys know her as
Miss
Miss
Beverly
Beverly
J.
J. Powers,
And Miss Beverly is our resident international best-selling author as a children's author. And we was talking about working together last summer. And in the last couple of, I would say maybe 6 months, we made a decision to just get out here and start helping some people publish their books. What's up, Beverly?
Hey, Dwayne, thanks for us joining together. Everything is good. I'm just waiting so I can share it on my page. So let's just keep rolling. I'm very excited about what we're going to do tonight to help some people get started on the road, their journey to publishing, writing and publishing their book.
Now, why did you decide to publish a book anyway?
Well, I've always loved telling stories and writing stories. And when I was working in children's church, I used to tell stories. I used to be able to improvise and tell stories, and the children used to love the stories. And so one day, my daughter and son-in-law, we decided to put together an app. And so I wrote books to go inside of the apps. And that was back in the day when apps just came out. So when I retired, I pulled the books out of the app, and I published them. And I started getting a lot of traction on and doing shows, which I love, which did open up doors for me. And so I just continue to write children's books.
Well,
Well,
we
we
talked
talked
about
about
planting
planting
seeds.
seeds.
And
And
one of
one
the
of the
things
things
we
we
said
said
is
is
we
we
want
want
to
to
plant
plant
the
the
seed
seed
of
of
excellence
excellence
with
with
people
people
who
who
have
have
stories.
stories.
And
And
so
so
tonight,
tonight,
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
give
give
you
you
a
a
couple
couple
of
of
things.
things.
Number
Number
one,
one,
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
talk
talk
about
about
limiting
limiting
beliefs.
beliefs.
What are
What
the
are the
beliefs
beliefs
that
that
are
are
keeping
keeping
you
you
from
from
actually
actually
obtaining
obtaining
your
your
authorship,
authorship,
right?
right?
That's
That's
stopping
stopping
you
you
from
from
actually
actually
publishing
publishing
your
your
book.
book.
We're
We're
going to
going to
talk
talk
about
about
those
those
things
things
that
that
you
you
should
should
do
do
or
or
what
what
you
you
might
might
want
want
to
to
know
know
when
when
it
it
comes
comes
to
to
writing
writing
a
a
book,
book,
publishing
publishing
a
a
book,
book,
and
and
putting
putting
it
it
out
out
there.
there.
Some
Some
people
people
have
have
this
this
myth
myth
about
about
their
their
story
story
being
being
stolen,
stolen,
and
and
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
bust
bust
those
those
myths
myths
up
up
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to
talk
talk
about
about
where
where
are
are
you
you
in
in
your
your
writing
writing
journey.
journey.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to
give
give
you
you
some
some
exercises,
exercises.
and
And
on
on
those
those
exercises,
exercises,
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
ask
ask
you
you
to
to
come
come
along
along
with
with
us
us
and
and
learn
learn
a
a
little
little
bit
bit
about
about
what
what
type
type
of
of
genres
genres
are
are
you
you
actually
actually
into?
into.
What
What
genre
genre
have
have
you
you
been
been
forgetting
forgetting
about?
about?
Maybe
Maybe
you
you
haven't
haven't
even
even
thought
thought
about.
about.
And
And
there
there
might
might
be
be
some
some
opportunity
opportunity
there
there
for
for
you.
you.
I
I
tell
tell
the
the
story
story
often
often
about
about
Amanda
Amanda
Goddard,
Goddard,
who
who
came
came
into
into
my
my
course
course
to
to
learn
learn
how
how
to
to
write
write
a
a
novel,
novel,
which
which
was
was
a
a
mystery,
mystery,
oh
oh
no,
no,
fantasy
fantasy
novel.
novel.
And
And
as
as
she's
she's
doing
doing
that,
that,
she
she
started
started
telling a
telling a
story
story
about
about
her
her
son
son
who
who
was
was
dealing
dealing
with
with
this
this
oxygen
oxygen
tank
tank
that
that
his
his
grandmother
grandmother
was
was
wearing.
wearing.
It
It
turned
turned
into
into
my
my
Nana's
Nana's
boo
boo
boo.
boo.
So
So
you
you
might
might
have a
have a
story in
story
your
in your
head
head
right
right
now.
now.
You
You
might
might
even
even
have a
have a
story in
story
your
in your
heart
heart
right
right
now.
now.
But we're
But
going
we're
to
going to
help
help
you
you
figure
figure
out
out
what
what
genres
genres
on
on
the
the
inside
inside
of
of
you
you
and
and
who are
who are
you
you
going
going
to
to
write
write
to.
to.
You
You
know,
know,
writing
writing
is
is
a
a
ethereal
ethereal
thing. It
thing. It
comes
comes
from the
from the
heart,
heart,
right?
right?
We're going
We're
to be
going to be
talking
talking
about
about
how
how
long
long
it
it
takes
takes
to
to
get
get
your
your
book
book
from
from
thought,
thought,
heart,
heart,
into the
into the
hands of
hands
the
of the
people
people
that
that
can
can
consume
consume
it.
it.
And
And
then
then
we're
we're
going to
going to
have
have
a
a
bonus
bonus
section
section
that
that
we
we
actually
actually
talk
talk
about
about
what
what
platforms,
platforms,
right?
right?
And
And
then we
then we
go
go
deep
deep
on
on
this
this
idea
idea
that
that
your
your
book
book
is a
is a
business.
business.
There's a
There's a
business
business
inside
inside
your
your
book.
book.
So
So
why don't
why
we
don't
go
we go
ahead and
ahead and
get
get
started?
started?
And
And
Beverly,
Beverly,
when we
when we
talk
talk
about
about
the
the
seed
seed
of
of
this
this
event,
event,
there's
there's
something
something
else we're
else
going
we're
to
going to
be
be
doing
doing
in a
in a
couple of
couple of
days.
days.
What
What
about
about
that?
that?
What's happening with that?
Well, in a couple of days, we're going to be having an in-depth boot camp, writer's boot camp, with 3 days that we're going to take you through the steps from A to done of writing your story and getting your story ready for publishing.
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
You
You
said
said
A
A
to
to
done,
done. Yeah.
not
Not
A
A
to
to
Z,
Z,
but
but
A
A
to
to
done.
done.
All
All
right.
right.
And
And so
so
some of the things that stops people are these ideas of limiting beliefs. Let's talk about that. What do we need to do to help people get past their limiting beliefs?
Well, one of the things I have to do is to really take a look at myself, Dwayne, and see where I want to go. What is it that I want to do, and why am I not doing it? I know that I had tried to write a book for years, but everything always got in the way. Whether I was sick, someone else was sick, this came up. It was always excuses. But what it came down to, the bottom line, I didn't believe in myself. I saw all these other people writing books, but I did not believe in myself until someone came along and said, Beverly, you can do this. And my daughter was one of those people who encouraged me to write my first novel.
You
You
know,
know,
that's a
that's a
real
real
key
key
piece.
piece.
See,
See,
there's
there's
this
this
whole
whole
study
study
out
out
there
there
about
about
not
not
being
being
enough,
enough,
not
not
doing
doing
what
what
it
it
takes
takes
because you
because you
don't
don't
have
have
what
what
it
it
takes.
takes.
And
And
sometimes
sometimes
we
we
believe
believe
what
what
other
other
people
people
have
have
said
said
to
to
us
us
about
about
our
our
gift.
gift.
Writing
Writing
is
is
a
a
subjective
subjective
thing.
thing.
You
You
can
can
write
write
something
something
and
and
somebody
somebody
looks
looks
at
at
it,
it,
reads
reads
it,
it,
and
and
says,
says,
terrible. Somebody
somebody
else
else
reads
reads
it
it
2 seconds
2 seconds
later
later
and
and
says,
says,
oh
oh
my
my
God,
God,
this
this
is
is
amazing.
amazing.
And
And
see,
see,
we
we
get
get
caught
caught
up
up
on
on
the
the
you're
you're
not
not
good
good
enough,
enough,
you
you
didn't
didn't
do
do
good
good
enough,
enough,
you
you
was
was
a
a
B
B
student.
student.
What
What
gives
gives
you
you
the
the
right
right
to read
to
to write
write
a
a
book?
book,
Number
number
one.
one?
Mm-hmm.
Number two, who are you to be published? I mean, that's for the rich and famous, right?
Yes,
That's for the educated.
right,
That's for those people in college.
right. And what is it that you have to say? Who's going to listen to what I have to say? Yeah. I remember when I was writing my novel, I almost deleted the whole book because I said to myself, this is stupid. I don't want to read it. No one else is going to read it. And I started to delete the whole thing. But I heard within my spirit the voice of my Heavenly Father say, Beverly, I am not going to write this book for you. I am going to write it through you.
Wait,
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 wait.
wait.
Don't get caught through
Through
you.
you.
I'm
I'm
not
not
going
going
to
to
write
write
this
this
for
for
you.
you.
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
write
Write
it
it
through
through
you.
you.
Wow.
Yes.
Let
And
that
then, yes,
resonate, y'all.
yes. And the last word he said to me was have fun. So I scrolled all the way back up to the top of my manuscript and I wrote those words down. Whenever I got stuck, I would always go back to those words. And I still have that emotional encouragement and feeling that I remember it just like it was 5 minutes ago. So that's what we're going to talk about too, Dwayne. Why it's important to have a coach. Why is it important to have someone along to help you along your journey?
Right. So
Right. So
right
right
now,
now,
what
what
we want you to
we
do, we're
we're
going
going
to
to
give
give
you
you
a
a
few
few
minutes
minutes
to
to
do
do
an
an
exercise.
exercise.
And
And
this
this
exercise
exercise
is
is
about
about
problem
problem
solving
solving
your
your
limited
limited
beliefs.
beliefs.
So
So
I
I
want
want
you
you
to
to
take
take
out
out
a
a
pen
pen
and
and
pad
pad
or
or
take
take
out
out
a
a
piece
piece
of
of
paper
paper
and
and
a
a
crayon,
crayon,
whatever it
whatever it
is
is
that
that
you
you
want
want
to
to
write
write
with.
with.
And
And
right
right
now, I
now, I
want
want
you
you
to
to
think
think
about
about
what's
holding
holding you
you
back.
back.
What kind of mindset, thought, what
What
reasons
reasons
are
are
you
you
giving
giving
yourself
yourself
for
for
not
not
publishing
publishing
your
your
book?
book?
I'm
I'm
going to
going to
go
go
off
off
camera
camera
for a
for a
moment.
moment.
We're
We're
going
going
to
to
give
give
you
you
some
some
time,
time,
and
and
then
then
we're
we're
going
going
to
to
come
come
back,
back.
and we're
And we're
just
just
going
going
to
to
triage
triage
a
a
few
few
things
things
because,
because,
you
you
know,
know,
there's a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of
people
people
out
out
there
there
who
who
just
just
think,
think,
hey,
hey,
this
this
is
is
never
never
going to
going to
happen
happen
for
for
me.
me.
And we
And we
want to
want to
help
help
you
you
understand
understand
that
that
it
it
will
will
happen
happen
for
for
you,
you.
and we
And
can
we
show
can show
you
you
exactly
exactly
step by
step by
step
step
how to
how to
get
get
there.
there.
All
All
right,
right.
so
So
why
why
don't you
don't you
take
take
a
a
moment
moment
and
and
we'll
we'll
go
go
off
off
screen
screen
for a
for a
second
second
and
and
take a
take a
moment
moment
and
and
write
write
down
down
what
what
are
are
your
your
limiting
limiting
beliefs.
beliefs.
All
All
right,
right.
we'll
We'll
be
be
back
back
in
in
a
a
moment.
moment. All right. So definitely there are some things that should be written down. So Beverly, what are some of the things that stopped you from moving forward?
One of the things I remember when I shared my first children's story with someone, and this person was very close to me, and what they said was, "It's kind of boring, isn't it?" And I was like, "Wow." And still to till today, I have not published that book, but I'm going to. I went back over and I reread it and I rewrote the story, and that story is going to be published because it's a good story.
So you had a story that you gave to someone who you really cared about,
Yes.
and they criticized it.
Yes.
And you said even today you still haven't published that story.
Yes.
And so what was it that changed that make you say, you know what? I'm a already published author. I have a novel already published. I have a children's book that's been recognized as an international bestseller.
Hmm.
I am in schools with my book, helping with emotional and social intelligence.
Hmm.
And is it now that you decided that you are enough and you can push that book out?
Well, one of the things I will say though is I do have more confidence. However, whenever I pull that book out, it's still that it's still that limiting belief that I have to work over, to work to get over. So I know from experience, a limiting belief is something that I am going to have to overcome every day. We don't realize how many thoughts do they say we have subconsciously a day. We have thousands of thoughts every day that's subconsciously that we don't realize that we're thinking. Well, I think when we really sit down and write out what we want to do in writing our story and getting someone to help us along the journey, we'll get it done. Because that person will come along and say, Bev, you can do this. Why don't you make this adjustment or just get the story done?
Well, I teach a thing called the ABCs of disputation. And so this is a good place for you guys to hear this because when you have a limiting belief, you have to challenge it. And you challenge that belief, then you can take a different action. So the way I say it is this: write down the belief and whatever it may be. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough money, whatever that is. And then I want you to take a moment and think about answers to that, right? You want to ask, how might I overcome this situation?
Hmm.
And you dispute it. And what happens is you're going to challenge the actions that you're currently taking.
Hmm.
And how this looks for you right now, if you have a list of things, and I don't know, maybe you might have a chance to put it in the comment section here. If you're on Facebook, just put it in the comment section there. If not, just on your paper, I want you to think about it. So let's say my limiting belief is I'm not good enough,
Hmm.
right? So I want to challenge that. I'll say there's a thing called taking action, and you can't take any action without a belief to support it.
Hmm.
In order for you to move forward in anything, you have to first believe it. And here's the thing, people say, I walk by faith or I take a leap of faith. Well, it's really not just the leap of faith or the walk of faith because you had to have a belief that when I walk, something's going to appear. There's going to be a support somewhere. I don't know what, I don't know how, but I'm going to challenge it. And so I ask my students, and I'm asking you to challenge that belief. What supports it? What tears it down? What are the things that you can write right now next to that belief that would change? So think about something that you've already done that you're good enough at. You know, I've already published a book before, or I've written and I've done pretty well. Somebody actually read it and gave me feedback.
Hmm.
So that could be one of the things that helps you. Maybe you could say, how many people out there have actually written a book that don't have a degree, maybe not even finished high school? And if you research that information, that could support your next action. Or you go to some other people instead of that person who said you're not good enough. And then you go to those other people and they'll tell you something and you go, I'm getting this kind of feedback here. I'm getting that kind of feedback there. And now I'm going to look at both of them. And now I'm going to say, let me challenge it with my own actions. And the deal is this: take one action toward the opposite of that belief. So if the belief is, I'm not good enough, fine. Now I'm going to present something, even though they said or someone said, I'm not good enough. And what you're going to find is that people and systems and situations, they're going to start speaking to you. Someone might invite you to come speak. Somebody might say, hey, I really was reading this and this really resonated with me. This really spoke to my heart. It helped me help my child do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. And then what's happening now is you're getting supportive information around that belief. And now you can move forward. So I want to take you on that journey of challenging each one of those areas so that you can say, what are the, you know, actions I need to take that either support or dismantle that belief. And when you challenge that belief, you can move into a different space and you take one positive action toward the outcome that you already want versus what someone said. So I hope that helps you out. You know, again, the mindset is very important as
Yes.
an author. Some of you are going to get stuck in your story and you're like, how do I move this character forward? So, Beverly, when people get stuck in the story or they get stuck, how is it that, what do you tell them about moving forward?
Well, what I do when I'm helping or coaching or running a writer's workshop, there's certain questions that we go through. We build an avatar. We build to understand what your character is like. What do they smell like? What do they look like? What is their favorite thing? And we want to write down what is the message in this story. So when my writers get stuck, we go back to the beginning to see where we got off track, because I don't like it for when, if you're starting off writing about a rabbit running down a hole, to you're not going to end up in space somewhere talking about space. So there's certain ways that we need to follow a path to writing your story. You have to understand where you want to go. Now sometimes your characters will tell you what's going on. Like when I wrote The Fourth Little Piggy, I used to hear it in my head. Everybody knows about the three little pigs, but did they know that they had a sister?
Wow. You know, that's really interesting because, again, that helps people move forward. Another thing that we found, and there's about a list of different things, but one is researching, right? They research, 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 and they don't write. I teach in my class, writers write, right? Writers should be writing. And so I want them to continue to write no matter what. If I give them a prompt, then write. Start at the top of the page and just go through it. Another thing is they fall in love with their work and they don't want to give it away to anyone. They're like, ooh, it's perfect. I can't give it away to anybody. And it's wild that they do that, right? Or they get into this thing, it's like nobody's going to take me seriously, right? I work with transformational writers, people who have stories to tell about overcoming things like addiction. You guys see Amanda Danello Scott, beautiful woman now, married, have children, but she is at one time in her life on the brink of death, over 20 overdoses, right? And now she's a four-time author. She came to the class, she wrote double shot of redemption, and it's how she went from this drug addicted person to who she is now, or well beyond what she is now,
Mhm.
right? Or they get distracted by the internet and they get caught up in all this minutia. You know, I got to get my ISP in, and I got to get this. And you said avatar, right? You said avatar. They don't know their avatar. They haven't spent time with their character. You
Mhm.
know, I'm working with someone right now to help them really hone in, dial in their characters, right? And then, of course, lack of support, whether it's partner support, family support,
Mhm.
community support, there's an issue there.
Right.
I created the Righteous Story community so that when people do get stuck or they run into a problem,
Mhm.
they have someone somewhere to go to get help.
Right.
So those are some things that get into that limiting belief,
Mhm.
that get in the way, gets people stuck. And is there anything else you want to add to that, Beverly?
Yeah, one of the things that I think is important is every writer has their journey. Every writer goes through a point where they may have writer's block or they feel like they can't go on. That's normal. Don't let that stop you. Just take time out, think about your vision, think about where you're going, get the help you need, get into the communities like Dwayne said, get a writing coach, whatever it is you need. Don't stop. Keep it moving. Keep it writing. Even if you are not writing about that particular story, write something. Write something every day and read it out loud. You'll be amazed out of what comes out of you. Just write it.
Writing
It's
is again
again one of those things that you can use and
Mm-hmm.
harness your own personal power.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that as you face your giants, right? As you face even that idea of writer's block. I heard Seth Godin, and you might want to write this down. Seth Godin. He wrote a million books. One of them, though, is called Purple Cow. And he talked about how do you set yourself apart from all the other people out there. Writers have the opportunity to do that with
Mm-hmm.
characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you get stuck, what I teach again in my class, and we go deep in this in the boot camp, is how do you create that voice for your character that allows you to feel that voice so much that it drives your story. You might think, what? Okay, let's say you got stuck somewhere in the story. The character can help you drive the conversation you might have with yourself. And so, what I teach is talk it out. Go through that situation that you're stuck on with your character and then talk it out.
Mm-hmm.
What does the city have to say if
Mm-hmm.
they're in the city? What does the weather have to say if you're in a certain kind of environment? What does the character have to say? And when you start making sure that the voice of the character speak, whether it's the location, the items inside the story, or the actual characters that you designed or developed, it starts informing you, and then you can make moves to push the story forward. And here's another thing that gets people stuck. They try to write the book from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
They try to go in a linear fashion. I'm going to start this book and I'm going to write it all the way through. No, you might write the beginning over here on one day, the middle on another day.
Mm-hmm.
You might come back and add something to the beginning on this day, and then you might write the end, and then you go back and go, no, I need to change all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get caught up in trying to go in some linear fashion. It's almost like a lattice. It's almost like a what we call that thing, mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
It has all these pieces, and then
Mm-hmm.
you pull them all together, and you create this masterpiece.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't know what you wrote down, but I want you to put a solution next to what's getting you stuck. And now we're going to talk about who should and can write a book? Beverly, who should write a book?
Anybody who has a story to tell.
What?
Basically, anybody who's living. If you're living, you've lived life, you would have
I,
experiences,
I,
and I'm quite sure that what you have experienced is going to help someone else.
you know, I don't know. Like, should I tell my secrets? Should I tell the stuff that's happening on the inside of me?
Absolutely. Nobody wants to read a boring story. You know, when I have my writers workshops, I can always tell when my class or students are holding back. And you know what I tell them? I say, if you don't want to come out with it, I don't want to read your book. Because readers know when you're holding back. Readers want solutions. Readers want to know that you have something to say that's going to help me. And you cannot minimize what you have to say. You just need to just write it and don't try to say, I mean,
don't
critique.
don't critique it. Don't critique
It's
it.
critique.
Don't
Don't
critique it.
critique yourself, right? Just write it.
Yeah, here's another thing because I talk about this, so I'm going to give you something to do. I want you to fill in the blanks. All right, so here it is. All right, I wouldn't have described her as fill in the blank. She was more fill in the blank than that. I wouldn't have described her as fill in the blank. She was more eh, than that. You fill in the blanks. See what happens? Sometimes you need a prompt. Sometimes you need some part of the story that can move you forward. And so when you think about who should write, can I write, think about what people need from your story, what people might need to know about this thing that comes so easily and naturally to you. And it could be anything. You know, um, there's a story, right? It was Forrest Gump, and there's this feather that actually trails through the entire story. There's another book that was called Misery that was turned into a movie, and it was a typewriter that was the main story. And the thing about it is, the person had to believe that they were qualified to tell this story. You are qualified.
Yes.
Whatever you've been through. But tell about, like, do you have a story about that, Beverly?
Uh, I could think of a time, to be honest with you, Dwayne, in my novel, In Perfect Timing, come to find out that my one of my main character was me, and I didn't realize that. So I took my story and I put it into a fictitious character, which it was a fun thing to do. It was fun to write. So I didn't know that I was writing about me, but I did.
Wow,
Wow,
wait,
wait,
wait.
wait.
I gotta unpack that. All right. So what Beverly is saying is that she's writing this story and she's going in, right? It's a novel. It has a lot of love story, intrigue, cool spots where people are doing cool things, right? So
Suspense.
suspense. But this was the character that she was writing was her.
Me.
And it's interesting because when you're writing about you, guess what? You can do, be, go, have anything you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And you can rewrite the script of your own experience. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say your experience was the relationship ended. Well, maybe in your book, it's a happy ending, or vice versa. Waiting to exhale, right? Terry Morrison, she got to the point where she's like, I'm tired, right? Um, the other book, there's another book, it was called Uh, gosh, it'll come to me. But the author wrote about her story. Oh, how Stella got her groove back, right? That was based a little bit on her life and what was going on in her situations, and she kind of put that in a book. Now there are some fictitious pieces, but the framework is you. So, how do people who think they shouldn't, or how do people who think they can't move into the shoulds and the I can mindset of writing, Beverly? What could you tell them to do?
All I can say is just write. We're going to move in a moment and talk about your why, and knowing your why is very important. Just write. What a technique that's really good for me is when I'm in the middle of writing, when I go to bed, I think about my character. I think about, what does my character want? What's the secret? What's the pain? And when I wake up in the morning, sometimes the story is just rolling through me. I've learned to just take my phone and speak it out. So that is another way, Dwayne, that we can get over that writer's block, that I can't do it. Just act like you're having a conversation on your phone and record it. And then that's part of your story. Have you done that before?
Now, that's a pretty powerful thing that we also talk about. You don't have to pick up a pen or paper. In today's world, with automatic writers, you can have speech to text.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be the person who actually writes it. You also have transcribers, and you can find a transcriber to actually take your audio and turn it into written form. You can also videotape yourself. And what's happening now is we have these uh, AI that works and pulls the words right out of the video and turns it into a written document. And you could take that document, send it to your editor and your formatter and people like that, proofreaders, and get it set up as your book. So there's no reason for you not to get this done. What Beverly said at the beginning, we're going from A to done. And the way you do A to done is that you use the systems around you. And remember, system means save yourself time, energy, and money. You can go to the publisher, and that's cool. But if you want to save yourself some time, energy, and money, you might want to take the self publisher route. Now, we talked about going into this idea of why, right? There are so many reasons why your book needs to live. I had someone who said, Beverly, but there's a whole bunch of books out there. What do you say to that person when they say it's a whole bunch of books out there?
It's not your book. Your book is not out there. Your book is still inside of you. And if you don't write your book and you leave this earth without putting your book out on the earth, I tell my students, nobody is going to go to your grave and dig you up and open up your brain and take your book out.
You know, that's powerful because you might have the story that creates change.
Yes.
You know, when I wrote No More Crumbs from the Table, which is now considered to be No More Crumbs, it was about discovering people's talent, ability, and gift.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to create change in people who had been second, third, and fourth generation welfare to work. And I wanted them to see how they can build a new life. Sometimes you might want to rally a thought. That's some reason why you might write. Maybe you want to build hope in a community that has limited hope. Or maybe you want to tell that story about that grandfather or grandmother who they just put into hospice care.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that parent that has dementia. And you want to tell the story about what it takes every single day to continue to love this person who's forgetting who you are and maybe going through some things that are not so nice. I don't know what it is, but what we want you to do right now is on another sheet of paper or turn the page, I want you to take a moment. We're going to give you some time and write down your why. What are some of the reasons your story needs to live? What is the reason why your story needs life? Go ahead, take a moment, write it down, and we'll be right back and we'll talk about this idea of your why. All right, so we are back on the block. Listen, this is a very important piece because we talk about your why.
Mhm.
Now, why
Why
don't
don't
need
need
to
to
be
be
qualified
qualified
by
by
other
others.
people. They
They
only
only
need
need
to
to
be
be
qualified
qualified
by
by
you.
you.
So, Dwayne, tell us, why is it important to know your why?
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
I'm
going
going
to
to
answer
answer
it
it
like
like
this.
this.
It's important to know your why because it drives your actions.
Hmm.
Most people, they just kind of wake up and say, "Ooh, I want to write a book." And when I'm talking to them, I talk about a Stephen Covey principle: begin with the end in mind. I need to know why I'm driving all the way to California. Is it for pleasure? Is it to meet a family member? If I'm in Maryland, which I live in Maryland, and I want to get to California, I need to know, why am I getting on the road and doing all this, right? So the same thing for this journey with your book. Why? Why do I want this story to be told? What is it going to do for humanity? What is it going to do for my family? What is it going to do for me? Now, when I started writing, it was threefold. Number one, I had been teaching and training and speaking all over the state of California, Dallas, parts of Texas, Georgia, and I was invited to speak at this major event. And when I did, I met someone who said, "You're leaving money on the table." So the book for me was actually a financial vehicle. What I didn't realize is that that $9.99 book would open another engagement for $3,000 for just about an hour and change speaking fee. So my why was financial. It was, hey, I could tell this story about my own personal overcomings. See, I had been abused, and my brother was abused. And we had a person who was called our foster care parent. And when we was with this foster care parent, her discipline style was to create harm, and she actually caused damage. Now, this was a person who was supposed to love me, a black woman who's supposed to love me, care for me, make sure I'm okay, nurture me. I'm a young boy. I'm 8 years old when my mom died. My grandfather's looking for someone to help. He allows me and my brother to live with this lady. And around 9.5, 10 years old, she accused me of lying on my test. I said I didn't lie. But what she did was she stood me against the wall and she took her shoe off and she said, "Tell the truth." And I said, "I'm telling the truth." She said, "Tell me the truth." I said, "I'm telling the truth." And then she hit me in the head. And that dazed me. I'm up against the wall. I'm 9 years old, turning 10. And then she hit me again. And the second time she hit me, my entire face exploded in blood all over the place. And she told me, "If you tell, they're going to take your brother away and you'll never see him again." So my why was to tell that story. And so in a fatherhood conference, I was telling that story, but it was powerful when I was able to tell people how to survive past what happened to them. So that was my why. And I looked at other things that I had difficulty in life, marriages that went south, relationships that just fell apart, and things that I didn't really know how to do, like be a father. And I was so bent on making sure I was present with my children after a divorce that I really strained other relationships. I even had major arguments about finance because I'm paying child support, but when they want something, I'm also spending money on that. And that was a big issue in my relationship. And then it was like, man, I need to tell this story. So my why was to help other people survive. My why was to gain financial opportunity from being guest speakers on all these platforms about fatherhood and surviving divorce and abuse. And then my why became helping young people understand that just because something happened to them doesn't mean it didn't happen for them. And it allowed me to put it in a book. It allowed me to send it out all over the world. And it gave me an opportunity to stand before thousands of people and tell my story. And today, it still pays me because now I teach it at the community college. I'm teaching it right here. We're together. And now it's become a business within my book. And we'll talk about that later. But that why of telling the story of survival, that why of helping people see that there's other options that they can take in life when life gives them lemons. We always hear make lemonade was the thing. It was the catalyst.
Wow. Wow, Dwayne, that's a pretty powerful story. So, in that, how can our audience find out or know what their why is? What steps can they take to find out what their why is?
Yeah, for me, it was real simple. I looked at what is it in my life that I could say to others that would help them improve.
Mm.
I don't care about the money, so to speak. I'm more interested in the transformation that people can have in their lives.
Mhm.
So for me, I sit down with my students, and when I talk about why, I ask them, what impact are you looking to make
Mhm.
either in your own family life?
Mhm.
What impact are you trying to make in your community?
Mhm.
And what is the thing that you really want? What is your outcome?
Right.
And they say, well, I want people to know I was here. Legacy. So I'm saying, okay, so let's write based on your legacy. Let's put a program together so that the world will know 10,000 years from now, you was here. And if you write a good enough book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, it wasn't even his story. It was stories about other people.
Mhm.
But he chronologized it. He put it in a chronological order. He set intention on it, and then he put it out there in the universe, and the rest is history. As a matter of fact, he died and didn't even have the rights to his own story. They had to go and republish it and get the rights back and go to court. So your story matters. Your children's story.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just something to entertain kids.
Mhm.
That's your why. I want to entertain kids. Maybe, like in your case, Beverly, teaching emotional and social intelligence
Mhm.
through character.
Mhm.
So, your why is I want kids to stop bullying each other.
Mhm.
I want children to be able to have friends who don't look like them.
Mhm.
I want them to understand that bullying and power and control is not the way that you need to connect with folks.
Mhm.
That could be your why.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you out there for your why, write it down.
Mhm.
Take a moment to think about 3 reasons why your book should live. What impact do you want it to make? Where do you want this to go?
Yeah. And then also, some people just want to write their story to leave a legacy for their grandchildren. They
Hmm.
want to leave history. We know through history that a lot of our history was learned and taught through storytelling. That's a very powerful way to tell your story, to tell your family's story, to tell your history by writing a book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
actually
actually
writing.
writing.
I mean, I just was working with a family whose parents have died. And
Mhm.
these parents met each other when they were young kids, and then they stayed together for, I don't know, 60 years,
Mhm.
and they had multiple children. They had a ministry. They had all this stuff, but they never had told their story. And one of the siblings found some letters from the mom and was like, yo, we could take this and turn it into something for our family and for the church. and the rest is history, right? Their why was the legacy of their parents.
Mhm.
And I love what you just said about storytelling to learn things. Our community, our background was stories so that we could survive.
Mhm.
Where's the lake? We might have told a story so people could know, oh, the lake is on the left. We might say a poem, poetry. Langston Hughes was great at it. He taught you self-pride, pride of being black, by the stories that he told in the poetry that he wrote.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
those are the things that I think people might want to take. And if you come to our boot camp,
Yes.
where we're going to be going deep dive for 3 days down into the dirt and helping you unearth these different things. You know, we're going to be coaching you and consulting you on getting your story from the mind, from the heart, into your hands and the hands of those who can consume it. Okay?
Mhm.
So that tells us that if we're doing that and we're helping you with your why, we're going to help you understand your journey. Now, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. You can also put it in the comments on Facebook. If you put it on YouTube, it will come to us as well, and we can answer some of those questions. You know, one question that comes up all the time is how much does it cost,
Ooh.
right? And we're going to share with you the cost. Another one is, should I use KDP? Should I use this platform, that platform? We're going to tell you a couple of things about a couple of platforms. And then we're also going to talk about royalties,
Mm.
keeping that money, not
Mm.
giving your money away,
Mhm.
right? And how do you reward yourself with self publishing? Okay, so when they're on this journey, right? They're on this journey, Beverly, they run into this thing called genres.
Mhm.
How can we help them unlock the genres in them?
Yeah. Well, genre is just basically what type of book you're going to write. Is it a romance? Is it a suspense? Is it a uh, nonfiction? Is it a fantasy? Is it sci-fi? Is it a children's book? It's basically what type of story. Is it literature? What are you writing about? And so that kind of fits into the category of where your book is going to be filed. If my children's book are not in the section with romance novels, even Christian books are not in the section with regular romance. They're all in their own category. So if you think about a genre as the category, the type of book that you're going to write. So when I sit down and write, I need to understand, am I writing a children's story or am I writing a novel? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, you know, I think you could write a how to book. I think you could write poetry, maybe a thriller, a murder mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I said earlier, you can take anything and turn it into a story. So I'm going to do this quick exercise with you, and I'm going to ask you to think of a place, right? Now, you can pick up any place, but there's going to be three elements I want you to write about. And the way I want you to do this is we're going to pick a genre. The first genre is mystery.
Mm.
All right? The first genre is mystery. And for the next couple of minutes, I want you to write. Oh, it's going to be 3 minutes. I usually do what's called a 7-7-7 method. I teach that in my deeper course, right? Well, for this exercise, I'm going to do 3-3-3. It's like 3 minutes. I'm going to set the alarm, and you're just going to write freely, write openly. Don't qualify. Don't edit as you go. Just freely write. So the genre, we said is what? Mystery, right? Did I say mystery?
Yes.
Okay. So three elements: a backpack, a unknown guy in a black hat, and a dollar bill.
Mm.
Write a mystery, however you see fit, about those three elements. You have 3 minutes. Go.
All right, so you should be done with that exercise, but I'm going to give you the second exercise, okay? You wrote down a story. Now, I told you to just write. Don't worry about fixing it. Don't try to edit it. Don't do any of those things, right? All I want you to do is just write out some story. And now I'm gonna give you a second story, okay? Uh, this one again, don't just think about it. Don't try to fix it all up. Just write what comes out of your heart. This genre is gonna be for let's say for Halloween, right? It's gonna be thriller, the evil of the thriller. Okay, so I should have lied. That is the prompt. Just right from there and make it a thriller. I should have lied. You have 3 minutes. Let's see what you come up with. Go for it. I should have lied. It's a thriller. All right, you should have written some really cool stuff. I hope you really are taking this to heart. This is very important. Again, it allows you to step outside your comfort zone when it comes to genres. You might want to write a love story, but hey, this is this other thing, right? Thriller. You might want to write a memoir, and this is going to give you some insights on just writing. And the whole idea of this is that writers write. As I said earlier, you just go at it, right? You don't qualify it, you just write it all up. Then what happens, you're going to get somebody like myself, Beverly, other people, we're going to come together and help you like structure it. And then we're going to get it out to the other people that's going to help us, like editors, proofreaders, and formatters. Okay. And so those things are going to be what's at your fingertip. We're going to do one more exercise. Beverly's going to lead that exercise. So I'm going to bring Beverly back into the
Stream.
stream.
And
And
hey,
hey, what do you have,
Yeah.
Beverly?
Well, first, Dwayne, I want to address that exercise because I thought that was so much fun. I love writing. Writing, yes, we all get stuck sometimes, but it's a way of being creative and to think about you can go anywhere in the world, just like reading a book. It takes you anywhere, it takes you out of your comfort zone, it takes you into another world. One of the things that I want us to think about when you're writing is every story has to have a conflict. So I want for this third exercise to for you to write a story about you really wanted a puppy, but instead your parents gave you a kitten. So think about, go back into your childhood, into your childlike mindset. And you're really excited because you're thinking you're getting a puppy for your birthday. And your parents bring home a kitten. What I want you to do is to write down your feelings and your emotions and how do you deal with this. You wanted a puppy, you get a kitten. How are you feeling? And how do you deal with it as a 8-year-old child? We're going to give you 3 minutes to just go inside and write it out. And we'll be back.
you're on.
Okay, wasn't that fun? Were you Johnny or Sally and you just knew you were going to get a puppy for your birthday? You even took your allowance and bought a little leash for your puppy and you get a kitten? Wow. How did you react? Did it spark any emotions inside of you? What did you do? Did you love the kitten? Did you allow the kitten to sleep in a room with you, or did you just shove it in the corner? That's how you write conflict in your story. Like I said, every good story needs a conflict. And when you're able to take your readers inside of the minds of your character to make them feel, see, think, breathe, smell what your characters are doing and experiencing, that's the essence of a good story.
That's amazing because that's something that we talk about emotion. Emotion causes action. So if I'm angry, I might do something that's outside of myself,
Mm.
but there's tension, right? If I'm in love, there's something that I might do. If I'm in lust, there's something that I might do or forget to do or don't do or do that I shouldn't do, right? Those actions are all part of what happens when those emotions get stirred up. And this tension that Beverly's talking about, it continues to keep you engaged in the story because you need to see how are they going to relieve the tension. What's going to happen to the main character? Where are they going? What are they getting ready to
Mm.
experience? And in some cases, we put ourselves in the shoes of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're talking about overcoming mental illness, if that's the story you're going to tell, what was the tension in that story? Maybe it's getting services, finding the right counselor, taking the right meds when you don't like medicine. What's the tension inside the story?
And another good thing, Dwayne, about conflict is a good way of showing how your character grows or doesn't grow. I think that's a very good point because how that you as a child handled that gift of getting a kitten is going to show, is your character growing, or are they just sulking like a little child in the corner, refusing to do their chores or clean up their room or mow the lawn or whatever rebellious mindset that they can take? No, I don't want this kitten. Let the kitten starve. So I think that's a very good exercise, and we hope that you take these exercises after the live and you go through them and you think about them. And one of the things, like Dwayne says, writers write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite again. So go back and look at your story and see, is there more that you can flush out in your story to make your characters and the plot come more alive?
So, one of the things that we go into from this point is who are you writing to?
Mhm.
So, we talked about where are you in your writing journey. We talked about knowing your why and understanding the reason why you're writing the story. We talked about who should write or who can write. And we even talked about limiting beliefs of the author or the writer that gets people stuck. So now we're moving into who are you writing to? This is that avatar that you talked about, Beverly.
Mhm.
So, how do you create an avatar? What is an avatar? Why should we even have one?
Well, you have to know what your character looks like. And yes, it's true. Your character can grow as you're writing. I know a lot of times my characters grow. I may start off with thinking about my character in one um, way of thinking and one way of being, but as my character is growing and developing, that's exactly what is going to show. So when I'm writing, I need to consider, like, we term it as the audience of one. You're not going to write to the masses because you're not going to please everybody, but you're going to write to a person as if it's your best friend or your child or someone who needs to hear the story, and you're going to follow that character. Like when I write, my characters drive the story. I'm not really a plot driven, even though plot is in it. It's the growth of the character, it's the actions of the characters. So that's why it's important when I write about a when I write my children's story that I am going to consider who I'm writing to. So if I'm going to write for a child, I have to be mindful of the language that I use. I have to be mindful about the setting that I use. I have to be mindful about the mindset. So when I'm writing a children's book, I have to write from as if I'm in the mind of a child. I'm not going to talk about adult things to an 8-year-old child in a story. I'm going to write to the language that they can understand and enjoy the story and be engaged in the story. That's why it's important to know your audience, to know who you're writing to. I don't want to write a children's book like I'm writing a book for a professor in a college.
Yeah, I have a couple of books. This is one, the South Carolina Garden, right? And originally, the writer wrote this at a level that was for maybe, I don't know, 11, 12, 13-year olds. But the actual story is a story for 5, 6, 7-year olds.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started like going through the story, it was like, wait a minute, it's a little bit weighty
Mm-hmm.
for them. Now, this other author, she wrote this story because she wanted it specifically for 4, 5, and 6-year olds. As a matter of fact, 3-year olds who really know how to put and, but, and R together, right? So, real cool stuff. Um, this was written, The Chains of Love in the Summer. The people who wrote this were 4 ladies. You can see them on the back cover, and they came together and they collaborated on this story around these 3 things: change, love, and the scene was summer. And so, again, these collaborations, this idea of writing and not just, you know, getting stuck and getting unstuck and all that kind of stuff. This is for you to be able to put your story in a format so that people can really consume it, right? So when you think about who you're writing to, it's one person. You're not writing to the masses, although the masses will purchase your book. You're writing to that one little child who's dealing with bullying, that one little child who's having challenges tying their shoe and they're getting angry and throwing their shoe across the room, or that one little child who goes to school and gets treated as if they don't exist,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So think about that avatar. It's that one person that embodies what you want them to receive from your story.
Yeah, and Dwayne, also it's important to know who you're writing to. For example, when I wrote The Fly in the Cheese, Say You're Sorry, that came from a Silly Sally song I used to sing to my grandson because he used to hate to go to sleep. And I used to rock him and sing him about the fly and the cheese flying to the moon. So when I wrote the story, I wrote it for him from that song. And that book went on to become an international bestseller. I didn't plan it that way. I wrote it for him. I wrote it because I wanted to leave a legacy for him to say to his children, my mom wrote this book for me. My mom used to sing this song to me. And I was hoping that maybe that's a tradition that they would start. And you know what, Dwayne? All of my grandchildren are writing.
That's powerful because, as you stated, you wrote to him. You wasn't writing to everybody else's grandson. You was writing to that one child. But that story appealed to more than hundreds of other children.
Yes.
And it also appealed to the grandparents who purchased the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it also, now you are in the cusp of getting it into schools and things of this nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's appealing to teachers and educators who are working with these same kids who are similar to your grandchild.
Yes.
So
Yes.
again, write to the one person. You writing that love story, that novel, write to the one you love, right?
You write in that poetry book, write to the people you want to empower with whatever those poems are going to be. Like I said, Langston Hughes wrote to the Black community. He wanted to empower us of who we were and how we showed up. Maya Angelou, same thing. All right. So um, write to the people you want to reach, but write to the one person within that group, and you'll be in a real good place as you move forward. So I want you to think about this, and if you're not writing in the chat or you're not commenting, you can write wherever it is that you can share information. Hey, Shanice, thank you so much for uh, coming in. Okay, uh, write down who are these people that you want to write this story to. Who's the one person? What do they look like? And when I say avatar, sometimes it's not just Sally, right? But it's people like Sally. She's 25 to 35 years old, or she's 45 to 65 years old. She's in shape or she's out of shape. She has children, she doesn't have children. Build the customer, build that avatar. What kind of certain little something that you want them to have?
Yeah.
Are they retired? Are they still working?
Yeah.
Do they have two children or 10?
Mhm.
Right?
Right. Yes, yes. And Dwayne, that's what we're going to do at our boot camp this weekend. We're going to help you all develop your avatar, whether you're going to be writing an adult book or if you're going to be writing a children's book. We're going to help you to flesh out that person, that character that you are going to see come to life right in front of your eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
again,
again, once you write into the one that answers for the masses, right? And that's the fun of designing, developing your characters, understanding your story. I have a cousin who's currently writing, and he's writing about his love. Now, his love is Harlem, right? So he's writing a story to the woman he loves, and the woman he loves is Harlem, New York. It's a powerful emotional ride because in this story, he talks about how he gave his life for Harlem. He put his life in danger for Harlem. He learned all the negative things of the street for Harlem. And he decided to change his life for Harlem. And today he's positioned to impact the community in a very ethereal, heart driven way because he still loves Harlem. So think about what is it that you want your story to do and who are you impacting with that story? See, I spoke to the little boy who believed that the parent was supposed to care and found out that that parent could really do damage, right? One of the arguments I remember having was about discipline because I said, I'm never going to whoop and beat my kids, not like I was. There's a scene in Antoine Fisher
Mm,
that I experienced in my own life,
mm,
being tied to a pole in the basement, naked, and beat with an ironing cord. That story, the pain of that,
mm,
it was a story I wanted to tell to help another little kid who felt as helpless as I was when I was tied around that pole understand that I still had to survive. I still had to find love in my heart for humanity. I still had to believe that it was a better situation somewhere for me. in my life, and I put it in that book. So whatever story you wanted to tell, think about what's the one person, who's that number one, who's that one, and then go for it. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about, and we got a lot, right? We got a lot. Huh?
Yeah.
How long does it take to
Write
write a
your book.
book?
How long does it
Ah,
take to write and publish a book? So, Dwayne, tell us, how long does it take to write and publish a book?
I don't know. Let's ask the owl. One, two, three. Uh, 48 hours. You can have a book out, if here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen.
48. Wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
48 hours, Dwayne.
Yes.
48 hours.
48 hours. So if you work on it today for 1 hour, you work on it again tomorrow for another hour, you work on it the day after that for another hour, then you work on it another day. So it's 48 days working 1 hour, you good.
Well,
But over 48 hours is really what I'm talking about because I
yeah.
actually proved it. And here's what I want to say. If you have a manuscript that's been sitting on your computer, and I mean, you've already written it, but you've been afraid. You can take that,
Mm,
find someone to
mm.
do all the proofreading, all of the editing, all of the formatting, right? Send it to them, let them do their magic. Now they send it back to you, and you have a ready to go manuscript. 48 hours is all it's going to take. Because all you need to do is there are systems out there. We're going to talk about a few. You upload it into the system, and within maybe 7 to 24 hours, it's going to get approved. And once it's approved, you'll be published.
Okay, so let's just unpack this for a little bit.
Hmm.
Are you saying that 48 hours I'll get my book edited and formatted, or is it after it's been edited?
After it, I said, if
Oh,
your
okay.
manuscript has been ready to go and you have it sitting on your computer, we're going to get it to these people, get all that done, and now you have a ready to go manuscript.
Okay.
Within 3 days, I mean 2 days, excuse me, you could be online with national and international distribution with your book. It
Wow.
will be an ebook, electronically downloaded, and you can set it up that if they really wanted the paperback, they can order the paperback because the system allows you to do both at the same time.
Yes.
Approve the paperback and approve the ebook. Now,
Ebook.
of course, you didn't do some of the other things, which that's on you. But people have done it, and I'm going to use the 99-cent book. There's a guy who wrote a book. He called it the 99-cent book. It only had 4 pages,
Mm.
the cover, and 2 ways for people to make money inside the book. And then he uploaded it and sent it out to the world for 99 cents. Guess how many he sold?
Mm.
Over 1 million.
Wow.
Inside the book, he gave them 2 ways for them to make over $10,000 with this system that he was at that time using. And people bought the book. So, because of that, it kind of sent a wave through this whole publishing journey that people have been taking because the Who says has said, oh, it's going to take 6 years, 5 days, 6 months, 2 years, 18 months, and it has to go do this and then it has to do that. And he was like, no. He decided to disrupt the system and prove it. And it's been done. So if you want to do that, you can. Now, we don't advise it,
No.
right? Because we have some things that we want you to put in play
Yes.
first. However, if that's your thing and you already have your stuff ready, we can show you to you. And I do that in my class. I actually take my students. This book right here was done in 48 hours. Inside this book is a bunch of stories. And inside this book is a bunch of quotes as well. Shackles Unleash, Soaring Above Life's Difficulties. At a workshop, the guest speaker began talking about some of his life. As a young kid, his mom got pregnant at age 16 and dropped out of high school to work at Burger King. The household consisted of his grandparents, three aunts, eight cousins, and his mother. Living there was always chaotic because the cousins were drug addicts, drug pushers, or doing something illegal, causing the police to be knocking or kicking down the door. At age 7, he told his mother that once he got older, he was going to be famous and take her away from that house. He had made up his mind he was going to break the chains of destruction from haunting his family. That's in this book. That's a beautiful start to an amazing story. So, yes, it can be done. However, I
Yes.
know that's not your method. So, why don't you talk about your method?
First, I find out what my class, my students want to do, and it depends on their level of commitment. That's the key. If I had them to sign a contract to themselves that they are committed. What is it that they're going to need to sacrifice to get this book done? Because you're going to have to let something go so that you can get your book done. If you have been trying to write a book for the last 5, 10 years, and you want to come in our class and try to write your book without realizing that you're going to have to sacrifice something, whether it's your favorite television show or whatever it is, what time are you going to sit down? What time are you going to commit to sit down and write your book? So it's all about that mindset, going back to that mindset again. And we're here to help you. We coach our writers how to get their story done. We give you a roadmap. We give you worksheets to help you to develop your avatar. We give you questions for you to answer. And a lot of times, by the time you get finished answering the questions, you have your characters, you have your plot, and you have your outline to your book. So it's not really difficult, but it's not always easy because a lot of times you're pulling things out of yourself. So, how long does it take for you to write your book? It depends on you, it depends on your vision and your motive, and how much time and energy are you willing to put into getting your book done. Doesn't have to be 6 months. I can write a children's book in a couple of hours as the inspiration comes to me. I can sit down and write it from A to Z. Yes, does it have to be tweaked and rewritten or, edited? Yes, all that. But the story, the plot line is done in an hour and a half because I love writing children's stories.
Well, that's so cool because, again, oh, let me see.
Yeah, I
I
was
was
muted.
muted.
All right, so let me say that again. I just told y'all the lottery numbers so y'all can win $1 million. Uh, yes, if you know, you can go quickly and you can get it done that way. There's a company called 48 hour books, and they actually help you publish your books. Of course, it's going to cost you, right? Now, editing, it's pretty expensive in the world of books. You can go from eight, 10, $12,000 for someone to tell you that they'll do all this editing stuff. Now, what we do is we show you how to do some pre stuff, how you pretty much do some pre work on your book, right? Some people are using Grammarly, some people are using a VA, a virtual assistant, some people are using other writers, ghostwriters,
Mm-hmm.
that type of stuff to get their story out. Now, we'll go into more detail about what those are and how you can take advantage of that. But just know this, that editing can cost you $75, $85 a page. you know, per word, per full book.
Mm-hmm.
People have all kind of prices. You can go to Upworks and find you a virtual assistant who writes and edits for a magazine. One of my connections is Kelly Natoris. She writes for Hay House Books. She teaches actually a course there, and she's the primary editor for them for years before she started her own company. And in this, she has a system that starts like around $5,000 to $7,000. But then there's some other people that will do it for less. And so we're going to help you navigate the waters so you don't get taken to the bank, or in some case, taken to the cleaners, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is to get something nice and solid that people will be respecting when it shows up. That's one of the other areas that stops people because they say, well, I'm not good at writing. You don't have to be good at writing because there's other people who are good at writing. And there's other people who are good at editing and proofreading and all this kind of stuff. And then one of the other things we're going to talk about is beta reading,
Mm.
when you get a team of people to review your book before you finally publish it, and you allow them to read it. And in some cases, you got to be careful for that because people go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it takes 6, 7 months, 8 months of just going back and forth,
Yeah.
right? Because sooner or later, you have to say, okay, let it fly.
Yes.
Okay. But editing matters. And editing is a number of different ways that your book can be edited.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there's a person called proofreader,
Mm-hmm.
which is different. So, what are the differences between like a proofreader versus an editor versus a formatter versus even copywriter?
Well, you have different, as you're describing, you have different editors and proofreaders. Proofreaders are going to be those who go through your story and check for grammar, punctuation. Then you have your line editors who's going to go through and make sure that your story is flowing. And then your overall editor is going to go through and make sure everything is lined up. Your beta readers and your editors are going to make sure that when you're talking about Sally in your book, Sally doesn't say something that sounds like Fred, or Fred says something, or Fred does something doesn't act like Sally. So that's where you need an editor that can look at the grammar, look at your line by line, and then also make sure that your story is consistent and that it makes sense. And editing, let me just say this, editing for self-publishers, we really need to be mindful to get our books professionally edited.
Oh, let's say that again. Professionally edited.
Right. Not your
Your buddy, your
auntie
grandma can't.
who is
No,
an
grandma
English
could do it.
teacher. Yes.
Now, I will say
Yes.
this: grandma can do it if grandma is a retired editor, or
Yes.
she worked for a newspaper, or she's had experience doing this kind of stuff,
Yes.
right? Not saying that you can't get grandma, but you definitely want a professional editor,
Yes,
right?
yes. And the type of editor that you get is important to your genre. Like I have a children's book editor. I don't have that same editor to edit my novels. It's
Very
different.
different.
And when I write when I have books that I need to write that's technical, I don't get someone who is a nonfiction or fiction editor to edit that book. When I was first looking for an editor for my novel, I interviewed my editors. I gave them sample chapters and I said, I'm interviewing you. Give me how you would edit these stories. And you know what? I'm glad I did because I ended up with two editors. This one got me as far as the novel, the storytelling, the storyline. The other one was very technical. So when I had to submit technical pieces, I went with this editor versus when I had to do a novel. So it's very important. And another way that you can find good editors is go into like Barnes and Noble online, or go into Amazon, and you read the some of the books that people have gotten, especially self-publishers. They're editors. That's how I found one of my editors. And see how they edit that book. Is it still within that author's voice? Do you like the way that they are editing that book? Are they missing a lot of stuff? Because we know the world that we live in today, according to books, they are very hard on reviews. If you, as a self publisher, think that you can edit your book, you write your book, you're all excited, you throw it up on Amazon, and then you go back and you look on at the reviews. I've read the reviews where people will talk about the grammar issues. They must have had a first grader to edit their book, or this is rehashed, or it's not anything good in it. So it's very important. We cannot stress it enough. Get yourself a professional editor. That's very important because your book, I don't care how good you feel as though it is, or how good it is, it will crash and burn in the cyber world.
You
He
said it's
said,
going to crash and
It's
burn
crash
in the
and burn
cyber world.
in the cyber world.
now,
Now, let me say this. You now have artificial intelligence that you can just give them a topic and it will go out and grab up a bunch of information and actually create a story for you.
That's not fun though.
And
No,
I'm just
no,
saying,
no.
people who don't want to do all that, you can do this because maybe you're doing something that is technical. You know, maybe you're writing about a certain thing. Now, we're not saying that everybody will use that method, but it is available to you. There's a company called Designer right now, and you can actually create a book in just a couple of seconds with the technology that's going on today. So be aware of that. But still, even if that scrubs and scrapes and gets all that information together, still send it to your editor. And remember, there's different types: structural, people that do developmental. They help you build the story. They help you, figure out
Hmm.
where and what emotions should the person have, the character and things like this. And then you got line editing, and they go, line by line, word by word. So, and it can get up there as far as expense.
Right.
So if you're going to
Yes.
spend any money, instead of spending a whole lot of money on design, spend it on editing
Right.
because that's going to be the main thing
Yes.
that people really
Yes.
pay attention to
Yes. And
when it
when your
comes.
editor comes back and says to you, did you mean this word or that word? Because this word means this. You know, you got yourself a good editor. You know, you have someone who's not just breezing through it and taking your dollars. They are actually reading your story and they get your story. That's very important because they need to be engaged in it and see the story like you see it, but make sure that everything is correct. So we are coming down to the end of our last 2 points here, and we hope that you are getting a lot out of it. And at this time, Dwayne is going to tell you about our workshop that we have coming up this weekend.
Yeah, yeah. So everything you heard today is doable, right? You can use it, walk away, and we get ready to go into one more area that's pretty deep that you can walk away with and get started on your published journey. However, we know that sometimes you need a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone to walk you through step by step by step. As Beverly said at the beginning, get you from A to done, right? And because of that, we created what's called the 3-day boot camp. This is the Writers and Authors Boot Camp 2022. And in this boot camp, we're going to slow down the process and we're going to give you insights about a number of major things when it comes to getting your book. We're going to talk about point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
Third person, second person, um,
Person.
character verse,
Mm-hmm.
voice. We're going to talk about building that voice, right? We're going to talk about things associated with all types of delivery systems. Should you use lulu.com? What about BookBaby? How about the paperback versus the hardcover?
What do you need to know about publishing on Amazon or create space that became now KDP Direct, right? We're going to look at these different things. We're going to talk about printing on demand, books on demand, ebooks, how to get published overnight. These are all things that you need to know about when you work around the story. We're going to talk about the hook. How do you write a description? How do you get people excited about what you wrote on the back cover that they might want to open up the book? And then where does everything go? Where does the copyright go? What is the copyright anyway? Right? We're going to talk about all the benefits of writing. We're going to go into the depth again of the pieces around formatting and designing your book in a way that allows the reader to really take the journey and how not to get lost. We're going to talk about cover art and understanding colors and how they relate and how you can actually get the colors that you want so you can have the type of impact you want your story to have. There's so many different things that we need to cover, right? We're going to talk about uploading and rendering a new cover and how do you save money in that way. We're going to talk about the process. So, not just writing, but what are some of the things that you really need to be aware of as you move forward? And then, of course, we're going to talk about, getting your ISBN number, understanding the barcode and what that means, and how royalty fees are calculated, and where do you host your book. There's so many things that are related to this. And so we're doing a really cool uh, boot camp, right? And so we're going to post the information. We're also going to post a link that's going to give you that information. And it allows you to take advantage of coming to this event. And again, this event is going to be October 28th from 7 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is Friday. Then we're going to come back at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday and wrap up on October 30th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday Eastern Standard Time. And you're going to see how you can take advantage of getting published from A to Z, or what Beverly calls A to done, with self publishing made easy, the new writers boot camp. It is $49 for those who are seeing this right now. $49. All you do is click on the link. The link will take you to it and you can get involved. If you do it when the link is open between now, tonight, and tomorrow, within 48 hours, then it goes up to the regular price of 197. It goes up to the regular price of 197. So you're going to be able to get in at a very steep discount because you showed up at this event. As long as you showed up at this event, you're going to be fine to get the discount or until the price goes up. It's for a limited time. The price is going to be at $49 and then it's going to go up to 197. And when it does, that's going to be the price. That's what it is. That's the normal price. And then, of course, we're going to be having a good time
Yes.
helping you get that
Yeah, it's going to
information.
be very exciting. I am looking forward to taking you all on your journey like a roadmap. We're going to pack all the things that we need for our car and we're going to get on the road. You're going to walk away with so much that your book is going to be at done. If you follow the steps that we give you, work through the worksheets. Now you are going to have a little homework now, because if anybody knows me, I love giving homework because that's when you can sit down in your quiet time and really get a lot of things done. But when you come out, you're going to have a lot of things understood. Your title, your genre, your voice, your point of view, your character, your plot, outline. You're going to have it all. So join in with us and have fun. Get your book done. So,
Man.
yeah, so anyway,
Yes.
tell them the rewards of publishing.
Yeah. So I like to start this piece about reward because number one, once you publish, it is a legacy project, right? It's a product that lives beyond you. Right now, I'm sure in your house, there is a book somewhere that was written way before you were born and way after you're here. And people are able to read that book and get information from it that can change their life. But now, the rewards of publishing are vast. Number one, it opens the door for you to be an expert. I did a workshop a while back with a comeback champion called the Bankable Book. And in the Bankable Book, it was how you can tell your business story, how you conceived the idea and you moved it into a place. And you can use that ebook, short little ebook, that you can send people information so that they can change their lives. And that will help you get their information in exchange, right? I now tell people don't just give it away for free, give it away for $3, $5, $1, but now build your customer list instead of your email list, right? Because we already know that only 30 something percent of that list even opens up, and then the open rate after that is even lower. But when you're sending stuff to a customer, there's a big difference. So we're going to show you how to set yourself up to have a book launch that's going to make an impact
Mhm.
so that you have a reward of being someone that people will come to or reach out to or search out to get the information they need for whatever it is that you want to help them do to transform. The same thing for whatever other genres, right? Another reward is helping you see the business that's
Mm.
associated with your book.
And we call this,
Right. So your book is your business.
say that again.
Your
Your
book
book
is
is
your
your
business.
business.
And here's what we mean by that. Everything that you do in writing your book can be connected to your possible taxation. So therefore, if you're doing research and you use your electricity, you're doing research and you're using your laptop, if you're doing research and you're spending time in whatever room, if you're doing research and the lights are on, that type of thing, those things are all tax deductible to a business owner. So we are going to be showing you the reward of the book is your business by helping you position your book so that you as now a author get the perks of being a business owner. Do you set up a corporation? And if you do, what kind? We're not going to give you tax advice, nor are we going to give you the advice on which one to get as a CPA or anything like that. But we're going to tell you some of the parameters around setting up your LLC, developing your business credit, understanding how you can set up so that you can get certain things done without coming out of your own pocket, how to use OPM, other people's money, in a positive way because it's out there for you. We're talking about how do you get that information where you become the authority, right? Then we're going to talk about how to use your book to create merchandise. Maybe your book title, or in this case, there are things inside this book, or even the character that could be on a pillow, that could be on a jumpsuit, that could be on some other product. We're going to show you how to go from A to Z or A to done in building merch and getting you products that are associated with your book because your book is your business, right? We're going to talk about traveling, right? You get to go do book signings, book events.
book reading. Maybe you get your book into the library. Shout out to Carlotta Taylor. No more flinching in the library now. She just did that last week. Awesome, right? So you're going to be able to do something similar to that. Find relationships and now go on travel to these different places outside of the United States. Maybe you might get a gig or a speaking gig. Or how do you get that based on your book? We're going to talk about it because your book is your business. We're going to talk about other opportunities for income streams that can be created as a result of you publishing your book. So, there are perks, there are opportunities all wrapped around this idea of you being a published author. So let me give you some numbers to work with, right? Um, if you was going to do one-on-one coaching, you could charge $150 to $200 an hour based on what you have in your book, right? Once you learn how to get your book published, you now could teach other people or tell other people. And you can actually charge them to let you tell them how to go about it. That could be worth 100 to 200 to $300, right? Maybe you want to set up some book sales and you get a group. And instead of buying one book at a time, they can buy a whole box of books, 50 books at a discount. You get it at $2.50 a book. You sell it for $7 to $10 to $12 a book. You make $7 to $12, $10, excuse me, into your pocket. That could be very lucrative for you over time, right? So there's all kind of stuff associated with getting your book done as you learn how to turn your book into a business. And then there are about six other things like starting your own TV show, right? Okay, so I was invited to speak on somebody's show. I saw somebody else doing a show. I decided to do my own show, and I had a podcast and a show that was over 60 episodes. In that, I actually did a book with a customer called Almost Not Born. Shout out to Michael Cleo's Chin and his wife, Desiree. Well, I worked with them to get their book done. And what did they do? They took some of the proceeds of the book and they went and they started their own movie. And now he is a director of a
Producer.
executive producer of his own movie that is now on Tubi. Okay, he went first to online and then he expanded and now it's on Tubi. And he's getting revenue from national advertisers. Okay, you could take your book and position it as a small story, a short story, a movie, a screenplay, and a play. All right. So these are things that your book is a business can do for you. I'm talking a lot, Beverly.
Yeah.
What about you? What are some of the things that you?
Well, one of the things that we know and we've experienced is your book makes you an authority in the subject. It also opens the door for you um, as a calling card. Most speakers are expected to have a book. And there are many opportunities that your book will get for you. Like, for example, with my children's book, I'm looking forward to taking them into schools, go do readings. I have done readings at libraries. I able to just bless children with books on the streets that I don't even know. So your book has endless possibility, and that's another thing in some of our programs is we help you with your marketing and we help you with expanding your audience with your book. Those are the things that we help you to think about while you're writing your book. So it's very rewarding. I like to have my students to take and imagine even before they get their book written, close their eyes and imagining that they're holding their books in their hand, their book in their hand. What does it feel like? How do you feel? And that's a good question, Dwayne. How did you feel when you first got your book published?
Well, I felt accomplished. I remember the first time I opened the box and I saw this crisp, clean book in there. And I remember taking it out of the box and I just flipped the pages and I could
Mm,
feel the wind from the pages. And I
mm,
was like, wow, this came from me. This is something that I thought about.
mm-hmm,
I took some action. I followed some steps and now it's manifested in my hand.
mm-hmm.
I felt empowered. I felt relieved because sometimes you can be burdened with holding this thing on the inside of you and you know it has to get out.
Yes.
And then I felt accomplished that, hey, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was phenomenal. The impact I knew I could make with it, the activity around it, and what it has done so far. I mean, it has made me so much more aware of other people's stories.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the radio for 3 years in DC, so it opened an avenue for me to be on the radio. I was on Listen Vision Live for 3 years, right across from Howard University in DC. It opened the door for a conversation with me with the president then, Dr. Godfrey,
Mm.
at the College of Southern Maryland. And it led to me teaching a course at the college that I've been teaching since 2016. And I teach now, even today. And it's allowed me to have my own personal customers where I do one on one coaching and I walk them through the process of doing their book and getting their book published. So it has really helped me feel accomplished.
That's wonderful. And we know that it's going to be such a great joy to those of you all who take advantage of this boot camp that we're going to help you get your book done.
Yeah, you're going to see the information for the boot camp along with the link to this live. We're using StreamYard right now, but it's going to go up next to it in all the places in Facebook, etc. And like I said, take advantage of the low cost, excuse me, the low cost discounted rate while it starts, and then it's going to go up. It will go up, so catch it while it's down. All right. So we're going to wrap up with one other thing, and that is this idea. When you get finished, you've written the book, you published the book, you are now a published author. It allows you to now walk into doors differently than what you did prior to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
What I want you to experience is how the world starts to open up and
Mm-hmm.
request you to assist them with whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about your dream, think about your ambition, think about your story. You have a story on the inside of you. As a matter of fact, I teach you have at least 10 stories. If I interviewed you, I believe I can pull 10 stories out. Story when you was a kid, story when you was adult, stories all over the place. And just remember this, your story might be the story that saves a life.
Mm-hmm.
Your story might be the story that leads a nation into a better place. It's time for you to write your story. We're inviting you to the writer workshop and boot camp, writers and authors boot camp. Take advantage of it. We thank you so much. What do you have to say to them, Beverly, before we wrap this up?
Well, I am excited. We cannot express to you the joy that you're going to feel It's a good feeling when I run across parents, like I ran across a parent last week who said that their child has read one of my books over and over and over again, and that they are now excited to know that I have another series out and that they have grown to the age that they'll be able to read into this series. So, whatever your personal feelings are, agenda, or reasons for wanting to write the book, don't let your excuses beat you out of it. Don't let your excuses bully you. We know that, and I just want to put this little plug in here because October is anti-bullying month. I'm getting ready to release my fourth, third book in the Fly and the Cheese series. Is called Bigger Than a Bully. So just watch out and listen for that. I'm going to be releasing it on Tuesday, November the 1st, the day after my birthday. So I will be posting a link in Facebook and everywhere, and so that you can get the book. And if you want a book signed, you can contact me and I'll get your book to you personally. So we appreciate you spending the evening with us. It's been such a joy. We're so excited for you because it shows that you all really want to do this thing. And guess what? Help is here.
All
All
right,
right.
help
Help is
is here, and we've come to the 9:15. We had 15 minutes for Q&A. I don't have any questions in the chat, or no one sent them to us. So at this time, we're going to say thank you very much. Have a great night. We hope that this information really empowers you. You can reach out to Beverly, and Beverly, you want to give them your website?
Yes, it's BeverlyJPowers.com. BeverlyJPowers.com. And on my website, you'll look in the right hand corner and you'll see where it says Write a Children's Book. There you can sign up for my class to write your children's book in 10 days. That's right. Get your children's book written in 10 days. And that's from the start to published. Not just start or A to done, but A to published. Because I'm going to show you how to find illustrators. It's just so much you're going to learn that you will have your book done. We're going to meet for 10 sessions and your book is going to be done.
That's phenomenal. 10 sessions. You got everything. You're not going to rush. You're going to take your time. You're going to get this good information. I want to give a shout out to Yaba Baker. He was one of my guest speakers before, and he actually took his book from a comic book. Well, actually, it was a children's book first, turned it into something similar to a comic that became a now vetted animation. Uh, it's an animated story, and so it's now on YouTube. Uh, it's a great community. I'll put a link there so you can check that out. And if you want to meet with us one on one, want to meet with me one on one, all you got to do is go to Discover Your Tag, as it is right here under my name, discoveryourtag.com, and click on the calendar link, make an appointment, and let's talk about your project. And I will say this: we have a community of writers and people who have completed the course in the Righteous Story community. Inside that community, it's a private community, but you can get some help there as well. So we invite you to participate in that. We have a course getting ready to happen outside of what we're doing because we're getting ready for Black Friday, y'all.
Yes.
And it's how to market your book. It's going to be all about marketing and promoting your book. And in that, we're going to talk about merch. Again, more depth on marketing and promoting your book for Black Friday. Let's get yourself positioned for what everybody already knows. There's going to be unique gifts to be purchased. Why not have it be yours? There's going to be unique books purchased. Why not have it be yours? Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you on the next page.
the next post, the next YouTube video, or in the next live. And we hope to see you at the Writers and Authors Boot Camp coming up in about 48 hours on Friday. We get started. Check out for the link, look out for the flyer, and we'll see you soon. Beverly, have anything else?
Nope, just we'll see you soon. And thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you. Willie Jones said, I'd like to thank you for the class tonight. I enjoyed it. I'll be in touch. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Good comment in the comment section on Facebook. And so you guys take care. Have a good night. And we're gonna be out of here in a moment.
Good night.